Chapter 8 The French Clue. It's the dress rehearsal, and I don't have any shoes to wear, Andrea said, her eyes welling with tears. It was a Friday night. Mr. McGuire's studio was filled with the cast of the Cinderella Ballet. Parents and other volunteers were busy helping the children on with their costumes or stage makeup. You can wear your pink ballet slippers for tonight, Mr. McGuire told Andrea. His cell phone began ringing. Excuse me, he said, walking away to take the call. Nancy was standing nearby, her mouse costume slung over her arm. She walked over to Andrea. It's going to be okay, she told Andrea. The clue crew is going to keep looking for your Cinderella slippers until we find them. I don't know, Andrea said doubtfully. Nancy patted her dance bag. We have those three clues I emailed you about the rhinestone, the barrette, and the piece of paper with a French word on it. They are in my bag. We have some suspects too. Don't worry. We'll find your slippers by tomorrow night. Okay, Andrea said, but she didn't look very sure. One of the parents called Andrea over so she could style her hair. Andrea waved to Nancy and rushed off. Nancy glanced around the room. Bess was getting sparkly eyeshadow put on her eyelids by one of the volunteers. She looked so pretty in her fairy godmother costume, which was a glittery gold dress with a matching tiara. George was on the other side of the studio, wearing her wicked stepmother costume, a long dark gray dress with a high collar. Her eyebrows had been transformed into pointed severe arches with a black eye pencil. Nancy thought George looked pretty scary. Can I help you with your costume, Mademoiselle Nancy? Nancy turned around. Miss Zelda was standing there. She had a box of safety pins in her hand and a sewing kit in the other. There was a long white tape measure draped around her neck. Thanks, Miss Zelda. That will be great, Nancy said. Her mouse costume was kind of complicated. Miss Zelda led Nancy to a quiet corner of the studio. She took the mouse costume from Nancy and studied it carefully. Why don't you sit on the floor and we can slip this on your feet first? She suggested. Nancy obeyed. Miss Zelda tucked the mouse costume over Nancy's feet, which were covered with pink ballet tights. Maybe the mouse legs are still a little long, Miss Zelda fretted. I must pin them for you. Okay, Nancy said. Thanks, Miss Zelda. As Miss Zelda worked, Nancy looked around restlessly. She wished she could gather her clue crew around her and get back to work, searching for clues, interviewing witnesses, anything. But she knew this was dress rehearsal time. No matter how important it was to find the missing slippers, she, George, and Beth had to focus on their last chance to rehearse. Miss Zelda gave a big yawn. Oh, pardonnez-moi, she said, covering her mouth. Are you sleepy? Nancy asked with a smile. Miss Zelda yawned again and nodded. I have been working so hard here lately, she explained, sewing all the costumes, helping with the ticket sales, even designing the program. Oh, and a few nights ago, Mr. McGuire asked me to help him move some old Nutcracker set pieces from the set storage area up to the attic to make room. It was hard work, dress difficile. My muscles still ache from that. Nancy sat up a little straighter. The set storage area, that was where she had found a piece of paper with the word Tail 35 on it. Nancy reached over to get her dance bag. Don't move, Miss Zelda instructed her. I must put one last pin in there. Now you can move. Nancy opened her dance bag and pulled out the tail clue. She showed it to Miss Zelda. Do you know what this is? Nancy asked her. Miss Zelda shrugged. Mais oui, of course. It's a French shoe size. A shoe size? Isn't 35 kind of big for a shoe size? Maybe it's a shoe size for giants. Nancy giggled at her own joke. Miss Zelda chuckled. No, no. French is a part of Europe. European shoe sizes are different. European size 35 is about, oh, let us see, a size for for girls in America. Really? Nancy exclaimed. Yes, really. Miss Zelda looked amused. Now, please stand up so I can check the rest of your costume. Nancy got to her feet. Her mind was spinning. If tail 35 the same as a girl's size 4, the piece of paper must have definitely fallen out of the box containing the Cinderella slippers. She remembered Andrea telling her once that she was a size 4. Miss Zelda bent over low to adjust Nancy's hemline. Just then, Nancy noticed something. Miss Zelda was wearing a shirt with the monogram Z embroidered on it in black. Nancy cocked her head to the right, sideways. The letter Z turned into the letter N. Could a silver beret, one of the clues, be a Z shape instead of an N shape after all? Nancy gave a little cough. Excuse me, Miss Zelda, she began. Do you own a silver beret? Miss Zelda looked surprised. Oui, but I seem to have lost it. I haven't seen it in several days. She stared at Nancy. Why do you ask? Nancy thought quickly. I think I heard one of the other kids saying they saw something like that, she said. She wanted to hang on to her clue until she'd solved the case. I'll ask around about it. Thank you. That's kind, Miss Zelda said. Miss Zelda, can you help me with my cape? One of the other students called out. It's too long. Yes, yes, I'm coming, Miss Zelda replied. She patted Nancy's costume, beaming. There, you look just like a little mouse. Nancy thanked Miss Zelda as the older woman hurried away with a tape measure, safety pins, and sewing kit. Nancy gazed after her, wondering if the costume manager might be the slipper thief. But that didn't make any sense. Why would Miss Zelda have stolen the slippers? Besides, Nancy didn't feel comfortable accusing her of being a thief. She was a grown up, after all. Maybe Miss Zelda lost the beret, just as she said. Hey, Nancy Clue, someone said. Nancy glanced up. Gregory was standing nearby. He looked handsome in his prince costume, black velvet pants and a royal white tunic with gold buttons. Hi, Gregory, Nancy said. She wondered if he had been eavesdropping on her conversation with Miss Zelda. Gregory pointed to the tail 35 clue, which Nancy was still holding. Where did you get that? He asked her curiously. In the set storage area, Nancy replied. Why? I want to show it to someone, Gregory said. I'll bring it back. Is that okay? I'll be super careful with it. Nancy thought for a moment. She wondered why Gregory really wanted to borrow the Tail 35 paper. Still, some instinct told her to say yes. Maybe she would learn something new and important about the case. After all, Gregory was a suspect. Sure, Nancy said with a smile. She handed a piece of paper to him. Thanks a lot, Gregory said. Then he rushed off. Nancy watched him as he hurried to the other side of the studio. She followed tentatively. Bess and Georgie came up to her. You look so cool in your mouse clothes, Bess exclaimed. You guys look really great in your costumes too, Nancy said. She lowered her voice. I'm following Gregory. Why? Georgie asked. Nancy explained. I want to know what he's going to do with the size 35 clue, she finished. We're all dressed, and we have our makeup on, Bess whispered. We have about 20 minutes until the first scene. We can help you. Nancy nodded. She put her finger to her lips. Then she, George, and Beth began following Gregory again. The studio was bustling with activity, so Gregory didn't seem to notice that he was being watched. He walked toward Scruffy, who was curled up in the corner on an old red blanket. Gregory bent down next to Scruffy and held a piece of paper Nancy had given him under the dog's nose. Scruffy sniffed. Gregory said something to him. Then Scruffy got up and began walking this way and that, his nose low to the ground, continuing to sniff. What is Gregory doing? George whispered to Nancy. What is Scruffy doing? Beth added. Nancy frowned. What are they doing? She wondered. Then something occurred to her. On Wednesday, I saw Gregory walking around the set storage area with a scruffy. Nancy said out loud to her friends, "It's like he was using Scruffy to help him find something. Then yesterday, I found the rhinestone in Gregory's stuff. Scruffy started sniffing it and barking like crazy." Beth and George both stared at her. "What do you think all that means?" George asked her. Nancy's eyes flashed. "I think I know what happened to the Cinderella slippers," she announced.